So hey guys, let's quickly start with our SAP Cloud Integration process steps and overview for it. We'll just get through all the components of it, what it uh, have once we create a new integration, what are the steps we need to follow. So quickly, let's go through all the steps and then we can start with the hands-on actually doing checking all the processes and the flow steps that are required to add, right? So we will go through it. Let's begin with the introduction of integration flows and the process, and then what are the message transformations, routing messages, parameters that we can externalize, and the camel expression. So let's take an overview of integration flow. So once we log in and edit the our integration flow, it is based on BPNM model, right? In SAP CI, there is connector from sender to receiver, and it will be having the two processes like the sender or a startup. So startup event can be a timer based or a file processing event, or it can be a sender who sends the information and we can configure an adapter to it. We'll look on it, all the adapters and everything. So and the relationship between the integration and the process flows are like one to n, so there can be a number of um, we can have multiple integration flows into one integration, right? So integration processes is basically it requires configuring sender and receiver, as we mentioned, and then integration process helps to define the process steps, and we can design them and control the process like in the stepwise manner, and then provide the message based processing integration with functions of the message processing, right? And there are different segments of it, like the participants and the process events connectors. Then there is delete, mapping, call, security related, persistence, message validator. All those options are available in the web UI. Once you start with the sender and the integration, there are it is something which is inbound to the services, and there are different adapter types we can choose from. It helps to like the process the messages flow between the sender CI system to the CI. Okay, and now it enables the configuration for us with the available adapters. Anything that is not available in the list, it usually doesn't happen. But if you want, then there are open connectors and other options are available. Similar way, we have receiver. Receiver is the final step where the data is sent, and it also is available with the adapters with the once we transport and message protocols are sent to it. Okay, so all these adapter types are mentioned here as well. So similar kind of the way as we have sender, we have receiver adapters as well. Then once we start the integration process steps, there are multiple participants to it. So participants are sender and receiver. Then there are processes. We can add exception, sub process, integration process, local integration process. All those are there. We have events to start the message, like say start event and end event, and then there are error related start and message related start and end events. Then we have connectors to create two steps of the process. uh, you see the symbol here. Similar way, there is a delete option to delete any kind of steps or mapping. Then there are message options, creating the message, and everything we will cover in the later point of time. But just now, we'll just cover where all those options are available. Then transforming the messages, we have multiple options of content modifier, converter, decoder. All those options are available. Under call, we have external and internal calls, say content enricher and request reply, send, looping the process, all those. So internal are the local callers. Okay, routing, we have aggregators to combine multiple incoming messages in the single message. So you see here all those options are present under routing: aggregator, gather, join, multicast. All the options still, like in the detailed session we will take a look into it. Security, we have decryptor and encryptor for the digitally decrypting the content of the message and encrypting the message, digitally sign the message and verify the message. So all those options are there. Then we have persistence for loading the data in cache memory for temporary use, and there are persistence and write variables. So all those options are there. Validators are there to validate message in EDI flat file format with XSD format. And then there is XML validator to check the message payload in the XML format against the configured XML schema. Message transformers and the mappings, we have graphical representation for those mappings and editors. The structure and the value mapping is possible and set of functions are available. PIPO mappings can be also imported here. Um, there are multiple mappings such as message mapping, XSLT. For operations also there is mapping available, and there is value mapping. Message mapping is usually a structural transformation between source and the target. You have nodes of both the source and the targets basically are graphically connected to each other. And mapping tool is present to make the changes to the message, and also it generates a Java source code for the graphical mappings, okay, internally, and executes it in the runtime. Accessibility mapping, as name suggests, data is filtered based on certain fields and grouped based on certain fields as well. So, and then there is operation mapping. Operation mappings can be imported from SAP NetViewer PIPO, and synchronous communication is supported there. And the operation mapping cannot be edited in the web UI. Okay, so that you have to just take a note of it. Now, value mapping is used when sender and the receiver have same objects with different names. So you have to just map the values here and define the value mapping groups in the CSV document. So SAP only like one value mapping can be maintained on the worker nodes. Okay. Message router splitter, these are this step allow us to break a message into a smaller part which can be processed independently later point of time. Then there are, and the two different types of splitters are general and iterating. So what is the difference? Basically, the a general splitter will just divide a message containing multiple messages in it. It preserves the context of the root node in the each splitted message. So it will just take the root nodes and just split the message. Iterating splitter divide a message containing multiple messages into individual messages. It considers only the split entity and does not preserve any context of the root nodes. So this variant supports an additional expression type token, and it's based on the keyword mentioned as a token. So you can search based on the path expressions here. Now let's take a look on how hands-on. So now let's go through an hands-on session for how to work through all the mappings and all the details that we have seen. Uh, let me open Let's not open any existing package. I will show you uh, all those elements in our existing integration that we created in our last session. So here CI demo integrations that was created, and there are two artifacts. So one was artifact we imported from other just for the sake of checking it, and here is the one that we recently created as an iFlow. So let me open the iFlow and we can go through all the aspects of it. So here is the sender and the receiver. By default, once we create a new integration, iFlow, we get this parameters, right? So if I click, first of all, I need to enable editing on it. This is the button. So recover, doesn't matter. So now click uh, so say if I have not created this, so by default it gives me like this. This is the flow sender and the receiver. We have to click on it, and this is our connector. We can use this connector to connect the start and end of the integration process. And the adapter types we can select from a drop down. So what kind of sender we have? So let's say SFTP. And similar way we can connect end with the receiver system. uh, we have to just drag the connector here, and here you will get a pop-up for all the adapter types that are available. We can take any one of them. Let's start with SFTP. We can try giving some connection details and test it out. Other than that, you see here sender, receiver, and all the options that we went through in the slides are like the participants that are sender and the receiver. Then we have processes. So let's take a look on all the processes. So these are exceptions of process integration, local integration processes. Uh, then we have events, end event, end message, error event. So here you see start and end both are the events that calls out, and in between you can add multiple uh, flows, right? So adding a new flow step, we can use all this. So when you click on the plus sign, also you get all the options that are available on the header as well. So starting with the transformation, what kind of transformation you need, or a mapping, ID mapping, message mapping, operational mapping, accessibility mapping. Then there is routing mechanism that we saw. Multiple there are options are there. Security related flow steps are there. Decryptor, encryptor, signer, as well as in the persistence model, we can store some temporary data in the iFlow. Then there is validator for XML and EDI. Uh, Participant call, and all these options are available, so we can add any of them here as a flow step. So say I have a file which is a CSV which need to be converted to XML, so I can say a transformer here, and we can edit those using additional options here. So you can click on it, and then there are settings to provide in the processing. So you can provide the XML schema for parsing, and then part to the target element in the XSD. Uh, record record marker, or whether it is comma or whatever it is the separator. Uh, Exclude whether we need to exclude the headline or not. So all this other functionality will go in details in later point of time. So for now, these are all the options that are available for adding in the flow step. Uh, Similarly, we had message routing, right? So earlier we saw uh, message mappings in the option. So message mapping can be created similar way. We can add a message uh, here. So say I want to add a message processor, message mapping. Let's click on message mapping, and here you can create a new mapping, or you can use assign the existing mapping. So you can click on the plus sign. We don't have any mapping, so say string value or whatever the naming you want to follow. You can create a mapping here. This will be the page like for the string value, and the hello world pack under that we have to add the source message and the target message to provide a mapping. But currently we don't have any such input source message. We'll have to add it, and then we can do an hands-on separately on how to use the mapping expressions and everything. So this is just an very high-level overview of how the mapping transformation is done and what is the tab for it. Similar way, we have accessibility mappings and the value mappings and operation mappings. So this is all for this particular